Kia ora and talofa lava Porirua. We know the rising cost of living is tough on families and businesses, and it's tough on us too. At the same time, councils across the country are facing the full effect of high inflation, and that means providing services like rubbish, recycling, roading, and pipes cost more than ever. For the past 2 years, we've managed to hold rate increases to 7.65% as promised, despite the challenges of a global pandemic and bouts of bad weather causing slips and floods. Now we've got rising interest rates in insurance, difficulty recruiting, and cost pressures that are coming at us from all directions. Some difficult decisions need to be made. We face other big challenges too. Central government is enacting major reforms in Three Waters and resource management, as well as looking at the way councils operate. It's tough out there. Every 3 years, councils are required to revalue properties across the city for rating purposes. These re-evaluations are carried out by independent valuers, Quotable Value Limited, or QV. You'll have just been notified of your home's new valuation, which in most cases will have increased. But it's important to remember that a high valuation doesn't mean higher rates unless your property's valuation increased more than the city average. In other words, the new valuations don't affect the total rates collected by council, but they do affect how this is shared out between property owners. There's no two ways about it. Rates in Porirua are already high. So why is this? Let's break it down. It comes down to two simple maths problems. 1. A council has to provide services and infrastructure for all its residents. In Porirua's case, that's over 61,500 of us, but the number of ratepayers who foot the bill is around 20,000. See the problem? Because we're a young city with lots of families with kids, Porirua has the most people per household of any council in the country, and therefore the lowest ratio of ratepayers to residents of any city in New Zealand. Consider this. If Porirua had the same ratio of ratepayers to residents as Wellington City and Hutt City, Porirua would have 18.85% more rateable properties. The average annual Porirua rates bill would drop overnight by over $650 per year. 2. The second challenge is that Porirua, unlike say Wellington City, can't reduce the burden on ratepayers with investment earnings from things like airports or ports. What's more, other large cities have large non-residential rating base with many more commercial, retail and industrial properties help fund council operations. Porirua doesn't have these significant additional income streams. We've changed to user pays where we can and introduced a small charge for parking, which helps us to keep rates as low as feasible. In the end, households like yours and mine are left to pick up the tab. So, what are we doing about it? Even as we face new and rising costs that we can't avoid, the council is doing whatever we can to keep overheads to a minimum. This year, we are making savings and driving efficiencies to the tune of $2.1 million to help offset rate increases. The bottom line is, we are no longer able to provide the same services for the same cost as we have before. Protecting our harbour and responding to the climate crisis are major priorities for the city, and to do this, we need robust water services and infrastructure. Keeping a focus on that, despite cost pressures, is what this year's annual plan is all about. If we don't invest in what's important now, we will all be worse off and have more to pay later. We want to be upfront and clear with the pressures we are facing and ask what you think is best for our city. What do you think the balance is between rate increases and the services we're able to provide to our community? This year and the coming year, we will need to make some challenging decisions for our city. Making these decisions in a cost of living crisis is not a fun job, but we want you to know what's coming and get your views on what's important for our city.